Have you ever felt, I don't know, just stuck in a loop of negative thoughts? It turns out there's a really powerful, well-researched connection between how we think and how we feel. So today, we're going to dive into how the mind can sometimes build its very own trap and, way more importantly, how we can start to find our way out. It's so important to start right here. And this quote from the Mayo Clinic says it all. Depression is a serious, treatable medical condition. It's not a character flaw. It's not a lack of willpower. Just acknowledging that is the absolute first step. It gets rid of the blame, and it opens the door to understanding what's really going on. Right, so keeping that in mind, let's ask a really critical question. We know depression has many causes, for sure. But what if that self-perpetuating cycle, the one that keeps us feeling so stuck, what if it often starts with the very way we think? And that's really the heart of what we're going to talk about. All right, let's get into it. We're going to look at something psychologists call cognitive distortions. Now, that sounds super technical, right? But stick with me. It's really just about unmasking these common, almost automatic errors in our thinking that can have a huge impact on our mood. So what on earth are they? Well, simply put, cognitive distortions are like having a faulty filter over your eyes. They're these weird patterns that twist reality and kind of trick us into jumping to really negative conclusions. The key word here is errors. It's not about you being flawed. It's about identifiable glitches in our mental software. Almost like these old evolutionary shortcuts have gone a little haywire in our modern world. And hey, this isn't some new agey thing someone just made up. It's rooted in the groundbreaking work of a psychologist named Aaron Beck. His cognitive theory was revolutionary because he suggested that these specific, distorted thought patterns aren't just a symptom of depression, they're actually a primary driver that can cause it and make it deeper. Let's make this real. Let me give you a super common example of a distortion called mind reading. The situation is totally neutral, right? A friend just gives you a quick, hurried reply. But the distorted interpretation, your brain just leaps to this negative personal conclusion. They're mad at me. And there's literally zero evidence for it. It's a perfect example of how our thoughts can create real emotional pain out of a simple, everyday moment. Okay, so now that we've got the basic idea, let's actually look at a few of the most common ones. Think of this like a little field guide, because learning to spot these patterns in the wild, that's the very first step to being able to challenge them. First up, we've got polarization. You might know it as all or nothing thinking. This is where everything is just black and white. There's no gray area at all. It's either perfect or it's a total failure. You're either a huge success or you're a complete loser. No in between. And this quote, man, it just nails it. There is no second place. If you don't get the absolute top spot, it feels like you failed completely. This kind of thinking sets this impossibly high bar, and it basically frames anything less than perfection as a catastrophe. I mean, that's just a recipe for constant disappointment. All right, next up is a big one, overgeneralization. This is when you take one single negative thing that happens and you blow it up into a rule for your entire life. It's like taking one drop of black ink and watching it turn a whole glass of clear water gray. One mistake becomes proof of a never-ending pattern of defeat. I mean, this example might sound a little silly, right? But wow, is it relatable for so many of us. A tiny, everyday mistake, breaking a glass, is instantly magnified into this sweeping judgment about your entire worth and competence. The conclusion is just so completely out of proportion to what actually happened. Okay, pattern number 3 is mental filtering. And this one is kind of like putting on a pair of sunglasses that only lets you see the bad stuff. You could have a day filled with amazing interactions and successes, but you'll latch on to the one tiny thing that went wrong, and you'll let that define the entire day. And here's such a powerful scenario. Think about it. This athlete's brain just deletes every single good play, every bit of skill, and zooms in on that one mistake. It's like all the positives get disqualified and only that one negative detail is allowed to stay, just replaying on a loop. And the last one we're going to cover in our little guide here is personalization. Basically, this is the distortion that makes you the cause of every bad thing that happens around you. It's this tendency to take everything personally and to blame yourself for stuff that you have no logical reason to believe is your fault. And this is such a classic and honestly a heartbreaking example. A child is caught in a situation that is completely beyond their control, but they internalize it and start to believe that somehow it's their fault. This pattern of shouldering blame for things that are way outside your control, that is such a heavy weight to carry. Okay, so we've spotted these thinking traps, but so what? How do they actually feed something like depression? Well, the really crucial thing to get is that they don't happen in a vacuum. They create this powerful, self-reinforcing loop. Let's break down that vicious cycle. Well, it's a classic chicken and egg situation, really. Does the bad mood cause the negative thoughts, or do the negative thoughts cause the bad mood? And the answer is yes, both. They absolutely fuel each other. A low mood makes you more vulnerable to distorted thoughts, and then those distorted thoughts turn around and deepen your low mood. And you can see how it works right here in this downward spiral. It all starts with some kind of trigger. Could be tiny. Then, boom, an automatic negative thought pops in, one of those distortions we just talked about. This then triggers negative feelings, and even physical stuff like being tired. So then you do something unhelpful, like avoiding your friends. And that isolation then just proves to your brain that the original negative thought was right, and the whole cycle starts over. Now, I know this might sound a little bit hopeless, but here's the amazing part. Because we can understand this cycle, we can actually learn to interrupt it. So this last section is all about real actionable strategies for breaking free and reclaiming your thinking. And here's the absolute key thing to understand. The goal isn't to never have a negative thought again. Come on, that's impossible. The real goal, the real superpower, is learning to catch them, identify them, and then actively challenge them. And this whole idea, that's the very core of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which is one of the most effective treatments for depression out there. So where do you even start? Well, here are a few really practical things you can try. It could be as simple as just naming the distortion when you feel it happening. Oh, that's all or nothing thinking right there. Or maybe you could try keeping a journal to really see your patterns on paper. The key is just to find strategies that help you shift from being a passenger in your own mind to being the driver. Oh, I love this strategy. It's so simple, but so powerful. When you're stuck in one of those negative thought loops, just stop and ask yourself, okay, what would I say to my best friend right now if they were going through this? You would never be as harsh to them as you are to yourself, right? It's all about learning to swap out that inner critic for a more compassionate inner coach. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. Seeing these patterns isn't just some intellectual exercise, it's a real-world skill. It's the power to remember that your thoughts are not always facts. They're just hypotheses you can question. So my question to you is, what is one negative thought you can choose to just look at a little differently today?